Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Bridget Bjorlo. A Bridgeport man is facing 3 attempted murder charges tonight following what police are calling an incident of domestic violence.
Yeah, tonight one woman and her 2 children are dealing with severe injuries, with one of the children still in a life-threatening condition.
Fox 61's Julie LeBlanc was inside the courtroom as the 38-year-old faced a Bridgeport judge.
This is a case the judge is calling gruesome and vicious, involving a mother and her 2 young children, one of which we're told by prosecutors may not survive. Now, before we get to the details, we do want to warn our viewers, they are disturbing.
And the strength of the state's case is extremely strong, the facts of which are gruesome to say the least.
38-year-old Abdulrahim Suleiman, hidden behind a head of hair and surrounded by 7 court marshals as he faces a Bridgeport judge. This after being charged with 3 counts of criminal attempt at murder, assault, and risk of injury to a minor.
The defendant has a past history of violence, not just in this state, but in the state of New Jersey, where he did 7 years for aggravated assault.
Bridgeport police say Wednesday morning they got several 911 calls describing a violent assault happening in an apartment building on Main Street. One of those calls coming from a woman who told police she was in the apartment with her 2 sons, 6 and 4 years old, along with Suleiman, who the victim told police was hitting them with a bat.
That's sad. You know, nobody deserved to be hurt.
Court documents show neighbors stepping in to help, pulling the children to safety, as police say Suleiman is seen on city cameras throwing a bat out of the window before jumping out himself, landing headfirst in a dumpster. Moments later, police arrested him, all as they went upstairs to find the mother and her children, rushing them to the hospital, with the 6-year-old still dealing with life-threatening injuries.
The likelihood of survival of this individual is close to 0.
The judge setting Suleiman's bond at $10 million, ordering him to wear 2 ankle bracelets, referencing threats he allegedly made against neighbors, too.
Not only based upon the gruesome and vicious allegations here.
Police calling it a case of domestic violence, as neighbors are horrified by what happened.
Domestic violence is very bad. If you have a chance to get out, get out. Save your life, your kid's life, and get out.
Now, just before Suleiman's appearance, prosecutors allege he spit on and slapped 2 marshals. State police are investigating that case, and he's actually expected back in court on Friday on those charges. As for the domestic violence charges, he's expected back in court on October 10th. We are in Bridgeport. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Julia, thank you. If you or a loved one are experiencing domestic violence, help is out there. The numbers for the national hotline and the Connecticut Safe Connect hotline are listed there on your screen. Resources are also available on our website, fox61.com.
Right now, Hurricane Helene becomes a Category 3 storm as it prepares to make landfall in Florida later tonight. Here's a look at the flooding already being reported in Fort Myers. Hurricane warnings and flash flood warnings extend far beyond the Florida coast up into south central Georgia.
Here in Connecticut, it was a gloomy and rainy day, but that's something we haven't seen in a while. Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank join us now to talk about it. Yeah, we kind of needed a gloomy, rainy day, didn't we, Rach?
Yeah, picked up 0.2 of an inch in the Hartford area, so not enough to knock out that rainfall deficit, but we will take every little bit that we can get. And even though things are calm outside right now, we do think that showers could kind of fill back in again. You can see the last couple of showers to kind of depart there in southeastern Connecticut, and a couple showers and sprinkles from Coventry over through Ashford as well. So more showers fill back in as we head through the coming hours. I think if you've got to go out and kind of walk the dog, you want to run to a fair, I think you still have some time before the showers fill back in again. But as they do, there could be a locally heavier downpour or a rumble of thunder in spots. So here's a look as we head towards 9 o'clock, noticing things are starting to come back in again. And even towards the shoreline again, there could be a few downpours as well. landfall. Heading into tomorrow, an early morning shower possible. Overall, though, it's a mostly cloudy but mostly dry day. And of course, as we were talking about, we're keeping a very close eye on Hurricane Helene for our friends and family, not only in Florida, but for a lot of the southeast that will be affected by this storm. You can see the outer rain bands impacting Tampa, and also supercell thunderstorms in some of the outer bands as well. So a tornado risk there too. This storm will make landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida heading into this evening. Winds of 120 miles an hour. We're going to get a closer look at all of the various impacts from the storm and where it goes after making landfall coming up.
All right, Rachel, I'll talk with you soon. Thank you. A 911 dispatcher now out of a job after the Meriden Police Department says he illegally used the collect system to get someone's personal information. Police say 26-year-old Jonathan Miller now faces 2 counts of computer crimes in the 3rd degree. Both of those are felonies. Police say he used the system twice over a 6-month period to find someone's home address. Miller turned himself into the Meriden Police Department and will appear in court at a later date.
Well, crime in Hartford is trending down, according to the mayor's office and Hartford police. And the crime that is declining the most is murders. Murders in the capital city now down more than 50% compared to this time last year. And police also say shootings and the number of shooting victims are both down 33% through the same time period. Interim Police Chief Kenny Howell says the department did a lot of work to get to this point.
The work that we're doing to make sure that we can respond to calls for service more quickly has a real impact on neighborhood trust, and the ability to call and get a response quickly is just so important in the city.
Now, the mayor went on to say the city is reducing crime across the city in 3 key ways: increasing the use of technology, seizing illegal firearms, and working with the community through peer mentoring and life coaching.
The congressional panel investigating the July assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump presented its findings to the public this week. The preliminary report found errors at nearly every level ahead of that shooting, including no clear chain of command and no coverage plan for the building that the shooter used. After dozens of interviews with law enforcement, senators also say there was no single line of communication which could have stopped the gunman potentially before he ever opened fire. This afternoon, Senator Richard Blumenthal, who sits on that committee, told Fox 61 the amount of mistakes that day produced a, quote, perfect storm of failure.
This assassination attempt was shocking, unacceptable, and totally preventable. A tragedy that should have been stopped. The death and injuries and near assassination of Donald Trump could have been stopped with sufficient resources, a clear chain of command, proper planning and preparation.
Meantime, the House task force investigating what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, held its first hearing today, where more law enforcement witnesses testified about what they're calling disjointed communications.
Well, federal prosecutors hit New York City Mayor Eric Adams with corruption charges. The mayor accused of taking bribes and illegal foreign campaign contributions. CB Cotton has the story.
I ask New Yorkers to wait to hear our defense before making any judgments.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams on the defensive as he becomes the first in city history to be indicted on criminal charges while still in office. The bombshell allegations were laid out in a more than 50-page indictment, charging Adams with 5 federal counts, including bribery, wire fraud, and seeking illegal campaign donations from foreign donors.
They don't have Eric Adams doing anything. He's not taking in the money. There's no email or text message in the indictment that has him doing anything, taking in any money.
Prosecutors allege Adams has a history of campaign misconduct, which dates back to 2014 when he became Brooklyn Borough president. In exchange for favors, he's accused of accepting free or heavily discounted overseas trips valued at more than $100,000. One of those favors, including helping Turkish officials bypass a fire safety inspection for a new diplomatic tower in the city.
Mayor Adams abused that privilege and broke the law. Laws that are designed to ensure that officials like him serve the people, not the highest bidder, not a foreign bidder, and certainly not a foreign power.
This indictment is part of a year-long investigation involving Adams and several senior aides. But the mayor has remained defiant, saying he has no plans to step down.
My day-to-day will not change. I will continue to do the job for 8.3 million New Yorkers that I was elected to do.
Now, that was CB Cotton reporting. Well, right now, the Bushnell is humming with anticipation as Hillary Clinton gets ready to take the stage soon. Governor Lamont and Senator Chris Murphy are hosting the conversation with her. Earlier today, Lamont told us how excited he was and what he thinks residents can learn from this new perspective in her life and legacy.
You can look at these public figures and think about them in terms of issues and ideology, but more and more it's important to me to get a sense of who they are as a person, their character, and where they're from. You'll get a real sense of Hillary Clinton.
The diplomat and politician here in Connecticut's capital tonight, specifically to talk about her new memoir called Something Lost, Something Gained, Reflections on Life, Love, and Liberty.